This is Keith Helwig from Cops Corrections Videos. If you like my videos, please subscribe. This week I'd like to talk about people that I consider the true first responders. It is National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week. This is the week that we honor all of our 911 dispatchers. Now, as a police officer, the 911 dispatchers are my lifeline. And when I get a call from the dispatcher, I go out and I handle that call. Once I'm done with it, I'm done with it. Now, while I'm handling that one call, the dispatchers are handling all calls. Whether it's a medical call and they're staying on the line to comfort the person and give them advice, whether it's a suicidal subject that they're talking to until negotiators can get on the scene, whether it's a scene of a rescue, whether it's a scene of a car accident. Telecommunications and 911 operators are the people that deal with that situation through to the end. I can't begin to say how many times I've been working the road and things are quiet for me, things are going good, and I will hear a call going on the radio for perhaps a rescue. I recall this one vividly. It was a couple years ago. A 19-year-old man had fallen off of a cliff, and I was listening to the 911 dispatcher coordinating efforts to try to rescue the young man, to try to get people to his location. And it was pretty difficult because it was in a rather rural, remote location. But as this dispatcher was coordinating all the efforts between local officials, county officials, state officials, the DNR, and various fire departments, I was listening. And the dispatcher that did this did an excellent job. Now, I'm sure she had a team of other dispatchers behind her helping her, which is how it should be. We're all part of a team. Unfortunately, this turned from a rescue into a recovery. And the dispatcher, you could hear the dispatcher's voice change when it became a recovery. She was on the phone with one of the other young men who were with this person and had made their way down to them. She was directing them on how to give CPR, how to try to save their friend. And all efforts were futile. Now, that dispatcher that was handling that call had to deal with it as it was happening. Of course, the other first responders, fire department, police department, DNR, were there to eventually recover the body, but they didn't have to deal with the emotional trauma while it was going on. They didn't have to deal with listening to a young man on the telephone, talking to his friend, and hearing the friend dying in the background. It's the same case a few years ago. I recall when an officer was shot. The dispatcher kept their calm. They were directing county police, state police, local police, police from other jurisdictions. They were getting all the resources they needed to that scene to handle the situation. Now, at the time, I was on a traffic stop and I heard the whole thing going on, and I was amazed at how calm they actually remained. We need to remember our telecommunications operator, our 911 dispatchers. When I'm out there at 11 o'clock at night, there were times where I worked till 3 o'clock in the morning, and I was on a rural country road in the middle of nowhere, stopped with a van and a drunk driver. They were the ones that had my back. They knew where I was, and they were sending people to help me. And before those people got there, they were doing regular checks to make sure I was okay. Even on a routine traffic stop now, give it day, whether it's day or night, the 911 operators, even in the midst of everything going on, still do checks with the officers that are doing traffic stops or on an assigned call to make sure that they're okay. They are my lifeline. I can't begin to say how much I appreciate them. I could start naming names, but I'm sure that there's a lot of names that I would leave out. And I don't want to leave out names. I appreciate our local dispatchers. I appreciate the dispatchers across the country. They're doing a job that I don't think most people realize is very stressful, is difficult. We talk about PTSD among troops. We talk about PTSD among correctional officers, PTSD among police officers. I work with a person right now who used to be a 911 dispatcher. That's how they got their start in law enforcement. And she was telling me of a situation where she was on a phone with a man who was holding his wife hostage. She'd been talking to him with some time. The SWAT team was staging outside of the individual's house. It was out in the country. And as she talked with the individual, he finally said, "I've had enough." And she heard a gunshot. That's when he murdered his wife. Then she heard another gunshot. And that's when he shot himself. Now, she wasn't there when it happened. She was on the phone with him when it happened. And you better believe that that has stuck with her, even though it's probably been 25 years, that stuck with her just as much as if she had been on that scene. She was there, she was talking to him, she was making connection, and she heard it happen. I can't imagine the emotional turmoil that she went through at that time. I can't imagine the emotional turmoil dispatchers go through on a regular basis. We all need to sit back, we all need to recognize their contribution to law enforcement, to the lives they save, and to the value they have to our society. So with that, I salute all my friends and all those that are 9/11 dispatchers across the country. My respect for you knows no bounds. My thanks to you knows no bounds. Until next time, this is Keith Helwig from Cops Corrections. Stay safe and watch your back.